The sort of where this came from was some of my colleagues in agricultural science in UCD, Tomás Russell and Anne Markey, were coming to me in the School of Psychology and saying, look, increasingly this issue about wellbeing and mental health is coming up for the students and in the area of agricultural science. And I had a module on wellbeing, and so a lot of their students were coming over and taking that module. And then the National Organisation for Suicide Prevention put out a call for research, and they had farmers as a particular area that they wanted there to be some research done on to understand this issue with this group. And so we put in for that as a collaboration between the ag scientists and the psychologists. And so then we did a nationwide survey, and we surveyed 256 farmers. We did interviews with individual farmers from different sectors, 10 farmers, and then we did focus groups with different groups of farmers and other stakeholders to sort of understand what is going on in terms of mental health and the issue of suicide risk. And so then what happened from there was that the sort of results were, I think what commonly people would say, stark but not surprising, where we saw that 23.4% of the people, the farmers that we surveyed, were coming up as at risk for suicide. And that meant that in the 2 weeks before they took out the survey, they said that they had had urges or thoughts of suicide, which is, stark, but, very stark. And we also saw that 55% were scoring on measures of depression at moderate to severe, and that 44% were seeing moderate to severe levels of anxiety. And 37% had high or severe levels of stress. So what we're seeing is that these are kind of levels at which there is sort of a crisis in terms of well-being for the farming community. And we were interested to see, well, what is it that are the big stressors that seem to be these risk factors for these issues coming up for the farming community. And the three top stressors that came up for the farmers that we surveyed were the governmental policies designed to reduce climate change, not taking into consideration their voice and not actually involving them in the types of decisions of the types of policies that were being then imposed on them, that weren't really working for them or incentivising them in effective ways. That they were starting to feel that outsiders didn't understand them, and there was being misunderstood by members outside the community, that there was sort of a level of disrespect coming towards farmers and the work that they were doing, as they were being scapegoated in the media around these issues around climate change, so that the pillar of community that they are and the important role that they had in the community, the way they were being viewed was being damaged by that, and that was causing a major level of stress for them. And then there was concern over the future of the farm. And when we look at that, some of these issues that are these stressors for the farming community are structural issues. These are issues where we can do things structurally, such as involve them. Policymakers can involve them more in the decisions and the policies that are being made. And we can take seriously that the farming community are one of the first people to come up against this issue that we're all coming up against, which is sort of climate change. They're one of the first people up more often. So we see, of course, that these, the farm is something that's so positive, and the attachment to land is something that is so positive, strong, good, love, connected. But there are also words in here like complicated, and responsibility needed, that are also there. So this relationship with the farm, it's something that's very powerful, but also, there is parts of it that have major difficulties, certainly in this time, this really changing landscape and changing time when all our futures are under question.
I might bring in Oliver here. He's I don't know if the crowd knows, but he's a therapist as well as being a farmer, so he might just a few comments.
Yeah. I'm 20 years practicing as a psychotherapist and counsellor, private practice here, and I'm delighted that we got Louise here, and I'm delighted to have this up here. And I was over there in that field, and I heard the interview from Mayo Welch on the Midwest, and I heard about that percentage. 24% of farmers considered at risk for suicide, and it came as a shock to me. And I just thought, if there was any other industry, and I thought, what if Ryanair came out with a report that 24% of their staff was under pressure and at risk for suicide? There'd be an outrage, an absolute outrage. There would be talk, something has to be done about this. So I could go on about this all day, but I'm just delighted to have that up there. And my message to people would be, is that you look after your mental and emotional well-being. We have enough stress with weather, prices. Now again, I'm coming from my system. It's an organic system. It suits me, the way I run the farm, the way myself and Anna run it, and my own ethos and my thinking, my holistic thinking, my humanistic approach is entwined with the farm and my outlook. And for example, fertilizer prices there last year and the year before, I was scratching my head wondering how are conventional farmers getting through this, because it didn't affect me, because I'm not at that anymore. But I was just thinking to myself, how in the name of God are they doing it? And with the policies that are coming in, the perception of farmers. I mean, all you have to do is look around here today, and is there anyone destroying the planet here? I don't think so. And it's the social media out there is. I do really feel that farmers are getting such a bashing, and all I can say to you is, look after what's inside your own gate, because your farm is your farm, and it's like, how can you make that work for you? What is the system you can put in place for you, whether it's organic or conventional? Do what you need to do for yourself. If there's financial bother, don't leave it. Get a financial advisor. Go get it sorted. Don't have it hanging in the back of your head. Don't be afraid of the postman coming. If you're not just feeling right and you can't talk to the people in the house, go talk to somebody. There's lots of private counsellors and therapists out there, and public as well, HSE, but I know they're pretty backed up. But what I would say to you is, deal with it. It's like if you see there's a cow belong to you sick out the fields, there's something up. Like, are you going to go, sure, I'll see how she is next month? No, you're not. You'll be out straight away and get a rain and get it sorted. Because if you don't, it'll really play in your mind. So have the same outlook on your own well-being, your own emotional well-being, and it's how you feel. It's like, okay, we've our mental well-being, but we also have our emotional well-being in how we feel and how we express that or how we don't express it. And when you don't express it, all you're doing is accumulating. You're going to add, and it's going to be more pressure. So what I would say to you is, try and unload the pressure. And some of this stuff on social media, I would say, stop looking at it because it's not good for you. It's like, I'll give you an example: lockdown, COVID. Every evening, on the news numbers, and people were frightened to death. And it's only when you step back and look at it, and it's only now that in my own practice that I'm starting to see the fallout of lockdown and the effect it had on people. So I'll finish on this. Be very cautious of what news you watch and how much you're watching it. There's no harm in keeping an eye on things, keeping up to things. But go out and live your life. Go out for a walk. Do what you need to do for yourselves. Okay, thank you.